Hey guys, Maewtt here, and we are back with more trolling on Mineplex bridges. Now, originally I was going to have footage of me blowing up my teammates because, you know, they had that update for a while that pretty much broke the bridges and did more harm than good. However, obviously, they reverted that update, plus, like, the TNT glitch wasn't even that good. All it would do, like first off, here's the weird thing about the blowing up your own teammates glitch. It only worked, like, on their first life. So if someone died or if you hit someone with it once, it wouldn't work again. It only worked on their first life. And second off, they wouldn't even lose their items. So basically, it was pointless and it didn't even make for good footage. Like, no one really cared when I did it. So that's why I'm showing the good old-fashioned spleefing and leaping islands and going to min building poop and, you know, all that good stuff that you know and love. Anyways, I don't know how many episodes of this I'm going to be able to do because they are eventually going to, you know, make an update to prevent you from leaping to other islands and stuff. So what I'm doing now on screen is going to be the only trolling I'm able to do. So we'll have to see what happens, and if like trolling on Mineplex bridges becomes something impossible to do, you know, if they make team killing too hard or impossible, then there's other games I could like troll on and stuff and record, or I could even go in Hypixel and like blow up my teammates on Skywars or something. Don't worry, I'll always have something for you guys. Anyways, without further ado, let's get into the stories. So quite a lot has happened this semester. I think first off, we'll start with my brother-in-law's birthday party. So we were celebrating that with, you know, me, him, my older sister, and several of friends. So first thing we did was we went to like an empty parking lot and we skated, you know, like him and his friends brought like roller skates and skateboards and all that fancy stuff. And obviously I don't have any of that, but luckily one of my brother-in-law's friends brought an extra pair of roller skates. Now, unfortunately, my brother-in-law's friend, it has like shoe size is a lot smaller than mine, so I was only able. So for whatever reason, I was only able to get one of the roller skates on. And since I don't know how to skateboard, you know, I just stuck with the roller skate. So I have a roller skate on my left foot, and I'm basically trying to skate like that, with literally just a roller skate on my left foot, nothing else. And you want to know what that's like? Imagine riding a scooter with no handlebars. You know, it's not exactly easy, and I pretty much looked like an idiot the whole time. It was fun. And eventually, though, my right leg got really tired because I had to keep like pushing, you know. So my right leg eventually gets tired, and so I basically take the skate off. Then my sister was driving around the parking lot playing Pokemon Go. So I basically just sat on top of the car and, you know, relaxed on top of it. It was pretty nice. And then eventually, you know, people were like grabbing onto the car and skating behind it, you know, just letting my sister tow them. And overall, it was pretty fun. So the next thing we did was we had these things called walking tacos. And if you don't know what they are, basically it's where you take a small bag of Doritos, crunch them up while they're inside the bag into like really tiny pieces. Then you take like taco salad stuff such as like beef and cheese and lettuce and all that fancy stuff. And you put it in the bag, then you close it and shake it up to mix everything up. Then you just take a fork and, you know, eat it. It's really good. I definitely recommend it if you haven't tried it. And so I make mine and eat it, and then I want another one. So I put my fork down because it takes 2 hands to make them, you know. So I put my fork down, make a second one, and then when I go back to get my fork, it's not there. So I look around and I see my older sister's friend, who was in line behind me at the time I was making my second taco, and she has my fork. So I'm about to tell her, hey, that's my fork, and then she takes a bite. So I'm like, all right, you know, it's probably better that she doesn't know that that was my fork. And, you know, because, you know, it's really only gross if you know about it, right? Also, in hindsight, I probably should have put my fork a little bit farther away from the unused forks. I mean, I had it, you know, a good few feet away, but I don't know, I guess I could have put it a bit farther away. And one more story about the party. So eventually we started doing that word association thing where like one person says one word and then, you know, someone says the first thing that pops into their mind. So my brother-in-law's friend was doing it to me. And eventually, you know, I didn't really say anything too funny. But then eventually, like, he started getting political. He's like, Trump. And so I'm like, good, because, you know, I vote for Trump. And then he's like, Clinton. And so, just for the sole purpose of trolling my sister, because, you know, she's slightly liberal and she voted for Clinton, I said jail. And that got some pretty good reactions in the room, you know. like a lot of people laughed, and I look over at my sister, and she gave me the good old one-finger salute, so I got the desired reaction, so that was pretty funny. So, as a lot of you may know, I switched halls after the last semester for certain reasons, and in my new hall, the guys are great, and, a lot of funny stuff is happening here. For example, there's this guy, and we're going to call him Jake. So one day, Jake decides to let everyone shave a penis on his chest. And the penis, it actually was pretty good. Like, it's a lot more accurate than the one you see me building in the background right now, Anyways, so he lets everyone shave a penis on his chest. And then everyone decides to start chanting what they call "Ode to Jake," which is basically everyone shouting, "Jake has a dick shaved onto his chest," and then that over and over and over and over again. And they do it pretty loudly. So I'm Skyping with my friends, or one of my friends, and all of a sudden they start shouting it, the "Ode to Jake," and my friend hears them. And he's like, "Are they saying what I think they're saying?" And I'm like, "Yes." "Does he really have a dick shaved on his chest?" And, "Yes, he does." "Was he asleep or something when they did it?" No, he was fully awake and he let them do that. And believe it or not, I've had to explain that to more than one friend, so that's always been fun. Luckily, they've stopped doing that, though I have a feeling if one of them watches this video, or if they hear me recording it now, they're going to start it up again. And sometimes they'll even start up at random times, like during March Madness, for example. Just at some random moment, they start chanting it for literally no reason whatsoever. Alright, I think I'll give you some stories about doctors. Now, I absolutely hate doctors. And when I say doctors, I don't mean like hospital workers. I mean like doctor's office doctors, And there are a few reasons for this. The first one is that when I was in like first or second grade, my doctor recommended that my mom only let me play like video games and watch TV, she recommended only an hour of screen time a day. And some of you may be thinking that's reasonable, but if it's like a rainy day, none of your friends can hang out, there's really nothing to do, only being allowed to have an hour of screen time out of like the 16 or so hours that you're awake, it just makes the day long and boring. And my mom actually took that advice for like a year, and it was like the worst year ever. And so that's the first reason I hate doctors. The second reason is they're a freaking ripoff. Like, think about it. A lot of the stuff that they do at the doctor's office is essentially stuff you could do on your own, and you could even figure out how to do it with Google. So, for example, when I get my physical, the doctor always checks my height and weight, and checks for other stuff. And honestly, the only things the doctor does that I can't do on myself are checking my eyes and ears and giving me vaccinations. That's literally all the doctor does that I can't do for myself. And I mean, I guess the vaccinations do kind of make it worth $100 that they charge you for each visit, or I don't know how much you guys get charged when you go to the doctor, but it's usually around $100 for me and my family, And sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less, but for the sake of this video, I'm just going to say it's $100, okay? And one time I ended up tearing my muscle in middle school because I was on the swim team, and I was doing the backstroke and I ended up tearing a muscle. And the doctor, I think I actually didn't need a doctor for that one, I've never torn a muscle and didn't know much about it. And one of the things the doctor recommended was physical therapy. And you know what the physical therapy was? It was basically a bunch of stuff I could have done on my own. Like, seriously. It was like wiggling this rod or something, like one of those bendy rods, I just had to like shake it back and forth and stuff. Like, honestly, I probably could have bought one of those rods for like $5 and done that on my own for like half an hour a day or whatever. And then the other thing I had to do was like, those like stretchy bands, those exercise stretchy bands, I also did stuff with that. But it's like all the stuff I did in physical therapy, I could have just bought all that gear for like less than $20 and done on my own versus however much my parents had to pay. I mean, this was back in middle school, so I didn't really look at the bill and I don't remember how much they had to pay, but I'm sure it was more expensive than $20. And you know how the doctor has you come in a few weeks after the injury or something when you're all better just to see how you're doing? You know what that is? It's basically, yeah, looks good. Oh, that'll be $100. That's basically all that is. And so that's like another way they rip you off. It's like they bill you twice for one injury. It's kind of unfair in my opinion. So here's another time where the doctor ripped me off. Senior year, I ended up spraining my ankle while playing badminton. And I had work that day and the next day, so I went in, took care of that, like, explain how I got injured and stuff. And I get home, just put some ice on it, lay on the couch, and my mom gets home and she sees me, on the couch with ice on my ankle, and she's like, "Hey, I thought you were supposed to be at work." So I tell her what happened. She's like, "Oh, we need to take you to the doctor." I'm like, and so I get mad. I'm like, "No, we do not need to go to the doctor. It's a waste of money and time because, doctors aren't exactly the quickest people. Not to mention the transportation. Our doctor is like a half hour away." And, I didn't want to get up. I just wanted to lay on the couch, like, for the rest of the day. But my mom insists, so we end up having to go to the doctor. And the doctor literally just says everything I knew. Like, he's like, "Oh yeah, it's a sprained ankle. Just put ice on it, and that'll be $100. So the doctor pretty much just took like 2 hours of her time and $100 just to say what I already knew. The only thing the doctor gave me that I actually needed was, a note saying what happened, just so that the gym teacher had like a record that, I got injured and wouldn't penalize me for skipping, and so that my boss wouldn't fire me and knew that I wasn't faking the injury. But honestly, it's like, how do you fake a swollen ankle? And, the gym teacher even saw the injury happen. So it's like, the gym teacher knew it wasn't fake, and I'm sure my boss knew it wasn't fake because, you can't really fake a swollen ankle. But whatever, New York, everything's a bureaucracy and all that. However, that's not the end of it. Like I said earlier, the doctor always makes you come back a second time when you're better. So sure enough, after like a week or two, doctor makes me come back, and she takes a look at it and he's like, "Yep, all good. That'll be $100. So it's like, we had to drive all the way down there again and waste more time and another $100 just for the doctor to look at and say, "All good." It's like, I understand you have to pay off your medical school bills and all that, but come on. Can't you rip off someone else? Or, be a little more reasonable than $100, like maybe $50 at least, at most, I mean. So here's another story about senior year. I actually ended up getting whooping cough senior year, and ended up starting an outbreak, like a pretty big outbreak at my school. It ended up getting to the point where the principal had to send a letter home to all the parents, And so let me explain how it all got started. So ever since middle school, whenever I'd get sick, I would not stay home. I'd refuse to. And the reason for that is, in middle school, I noticed that it's easier to just go to school sick than to have to deal with all the makeup work when you stay home and then come back. And then 7th grade, in history, we learned about how the Europeans, killed off the Native Americans with smallpox. And so 7th grade me is like, I wonder if I could do that, but on a smaller scale. And so I decided, from now on, whenever I'd get sick, I'd try and spread around the school to all the kids who were bullying me. And that way, either they'd get sick too and stay home and I wouldn't have to deal with them for a few days, or I'd ruin their weekend as a way of revenge for bullying me. It's a win-win for me either way, So senior year, I notice this cough and I'm like, "Oh great, I have a cold." Well, I'll do the usual thing I do, spread around on purpose to everyone who's been bullying me. And so, I also when I get sick, I stay away from my friends because, don't want to get them sick. Well, it turns out I ended up getting my friend's mom sick because she's a substitute teacher for our school district, and one of the kids I infected ends up infecting her. And one of my friends suspected I had whooping cough, but the rest of my friends and I doubted it because I wasn't making the whoop sound, the that whooping cough's associated with. Well, I later found out that people who have whooping cough don't always make that sound, and it turns out, for example, what I was doing is, I just coughed a lot, and then I just couldn't breathe in any air for a little bit. It was it's kind of hard to describe. I just couldn't breathe in any air for a little bit, but I'd be trying to, but I wasn't gasping, So that's how my whooping cough manifested itself. And so anyways, after about a week or two, I realized that what I had was whooping cough, and so I'm like, all right, these guys were very mean to me and all, but I'm not that bad of a person where I try and get them something serious like whooping cough, so naturally I stopped spreading it on purpose at that point. But of course, by then the damage was done, and other people had it and they were spraying it around unintentionally, of course. And so it gets to the point where the principal has to send home a letter to the parents, explaining what's going on. And my mom suspected I had whooping cough for a long time. And she wanted to take me to the doctor. So, of course, we had our usual argument of, no, I don't need to go to the doctor. I know what's wrong with me. It'll go away on its own, you know, blah, 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 and all that. And so, eventually, I do go to the doctor just because it gave me an excuse to not go to work. And it's like, I mean, as bad as going to the doctor is, it's not as bad as working retail. I'm sure anyone who's worked retail here can agree with that. And I don't want the doctor to make me to stay home. So, and luckily this was at the end of my whooping cough. Like, this is when it was starting to get better. But I wasn't fully better yet. So, when I get into the doctor's office and the doctor's looking at me, you know, like, she's, you know, checking my lungs and my breathing and all that. And after a while, I notice I have to cough. But I don't want to cough from her, so I basically just hold it in the entire time. And, you know, she's like, yeah, it's possible you had at one point, you know, if you're feeling bad, stay home from school. And I'm thinking, yeah, like, that's going to happen. And then, of course, she charges us $100 and sends me on my way. And as soon as we get out, you know, I just let it all out. You know, I just start coughing. And my mom's like, I knew it. I knew you were holding it in. Why are you doing that? You're supposed to be honest with your doctor. That was a waste of time and money. I'm like, I told you it was going to be a waste of time and money when you took me. I already knew what I had, and I told you it was getting better, you know? And my mom wasn't really happy with me, but, you know, I warned her, so I don't really feel too bad about it. I do feel bad about getting my friend's mom whooping cough, so, John, as I'm going to call you, you know who you are, though. John, if you're watching this, I'm really sorry about that, okay? Overall, I guess you could say that there are two morals to this. Number one, doctors are ripoffs. And number two, if you get sick, don't spread around on purpose, you know? Even if you avoid your friends, the people you infect can infect them. And it is kind of sad it took me 5 years to learn that. I'm surprised I didn't learn it sooner, but I guess I'm a slow learner. Anyways, that's all for today. Thank you for watching this video, and please like, share, and subscribe for more.